How does a gothic musician like Marilyn Manson is using sleight of mouth to play with the mind of the people listening to his music? Actually, there has been many claims about and worries about satanist messages hidden subliminally into gothic music and Satan music. I do not know if this is true, and I do not know how much Marilyn Manson is hiding satanist messages into his songs. I think it is pretty overt. I don't think it is covered in any way. But what I noticed though is many rock stars I have seen interviews of are really good at frame control. I have a guess on that, maybe because they are writing lyrics and they have to play with words when they are writing their lyrics. Maybe their brain is more used to play with words and to use words skillfully to turn the conversation around. I have seen that in many interviews from rock stars, and Marilyn Manson is no exception to this. But right here we are going to investigate how specifically is he using sleight of mouth. So for those who don't know, sleight of mouth was a model of communication developed by Robert Dills that was enumerating different ways you can control the frame of a conversation when somebody is trying to argue against you. And realizing the kind of just character and lyrics and presuppositions hidden behind Marilyn Manson messages, you can guess he has had many conflicts during interviews over the years. So if you are already familiar with this, you can play this game with me. We are going to watch 5 different clips and we are going to check which sleight of mouth pattern was used from there. And I could be wrong sometimes. My big problem with the sleight of mouth model is that usually one statement is feeding different categories. I seldom see a statement that couldn't fit into more of those categories than just one, but I will just pinpoint to the one here that I think is the most relevant based on the example we are going to see. Also, before getting on the first example, most of what he's using that you're going to see right here, it could be defined as an intention pattern. Many times he's using intention patterns from the model, but I will point to other things because if I was just giving you the intention pattern and nothing else, that would be kind of reducing the effect of this video and what you can learn from it. But the very first thing you have to understand whenever you want to control the frame of a conversation or use a sleight of mouth, either with a client in therapy or with your friends, with people you want to argue with, you just want to define more clearly your meta frame, what is on the really top right here. And during all the examples you're going to see from Manson, many times he's just going back to this meta frame, which is I am here to challenge people's assumptions and about what they've been taught to believe, most likely about God and religion and Christianity. It is no wonder you don't need to be a genius to figure out that he was probably severely abused into his childhood about some religious upbringing, which is a very common pattern into people who want to help others. It is because they have been abused or really hurt about something, and now they want to prevent others from being hurt the same way.
I don't understand why you pick Catholicism, why you go with the cross, with God, with the Pope. To me, she has lost her religion because of listening to him as well as other musicians. She's not a Catholic anymore. She has no religion anymore, and that's what's bothering me.
Well, you know, it could be because it was your religion and maybe it wasn't supposed to be hers.
So right here we have him discussing with an angry and upset mother for her daughter. And when people try to learn sleight of mouth, they try to go too fast because they want to understand right away which pattern was used and what did he say and how did he say it and how can I say the same thing. First of all, deconstruct what was the belief we were dealing with right here. Whenever you want to study or discover or use a sleight of mouth into your normal conversations, the first elementary thing after you have defined your own meta frame, the main frame you want to use in the conversation, it is to deconstruct mentally the belief of the person in front of you. Right here it is something like, because she listened to you, she is not Catholic anymore. That is really the blame, that is the confrontation at hand here. The mother is confronting him about this. Any kind of belief is always going to be translated into a cause and effect structure, just like right here. If you don't understand that first, and when you have been practicing sleight of mouth, this thing just becomes intuitive, you just intuitively understand what beliefs people are holding, but in the beginning it may not be as intuitive. So the first step when you learn sleight of mouth and want to use it in your life is to deconstruct those things. When you hear people discussing topics, you just want to deconstruct their beliefs just like that. Because once you know where you are starting from, this is what allows you to get there on the next step where you actually reframe what they just said. So right here we have a model of the world, a pattern, which could also be an intention because he's reframing the intention of the mother, but intention is what he's using all the time, so I will just pinpoint to something else here. Model of the world is a pretty good one when you want to make the person understand that what they believe, what they think is just their version of reality, and by no means and in no way is it obligatory that everybody else is obligated to think like them.
And that most children don't understand what you're doing and why you're using the F word and why you're acting bizarre. And this can be very, very troubling to children who don't have direction, who don't have responsible parents.
Anything can be misinterpreted. People can look at Christ on a cross and think, this is an image of murder, this is violent, this has sexual imagery in it. And I think it's my job as an artist to be out there pushing people's buttons and making them question everything. And I respect you for challenging me, and that's why I came on the show.
So right here, the frame, the belief the interviewer is coming up with is the belief that your language is so provocative and your message is so dark, so nasty, that it is causing trouble to the youth because children might misinterpret that. And the way I would categorize what he just did here is by elaborating on the change of frame size pattern, because the change of frame size is basically what else is there into this context, what else is there, what else has threat to this situation, what else is not being said, is not being seen, that would just refute what the person arguing has just said. So by pointing out to everything could be misinterpreted, exactly like Christ on the cross, that can be seen as being violent, it can be seen as being free violence. He's pointing out that the situation is not as simple as the interviewer would like to make it appear, and that there are many other aspects. In the end, it's always coming down to his meta frame up there, which is I want to challenge assumptions mostly about religion that people have been taught to believe, probably like he was taught to believe when he was a child. I didn't read his backstory, but I'm pretty sure it is coming down to something like that, and therefore he's reframing the statement that way. And also coming back to this meta frame idea, when he says it's my job as an artist to be out there pushing people's buttons, etc. This is again coming back to his meta frame, and this is the biggest advice I have here for people who want to practice frame control. It is, if you don't know yourself enough, if you don't know clearly why you are saying or doing the things you are doing in life, people can always push your hard buttons because you don't know how to defend, because you don't know what is the counter evidence. The counter evidence in life, when you were discussing about your desires, your projects, what you do as an artist or as a professor or as a business person, whatever, when people challenge you on this, if you don't know clearly why you are doing it, then you will always lose the frame. You will always lose the frame battle and the control of the frame because you don't know yourself enough. Once you know yourself enough, nobody anymore can really push your buttons.
What you do. There are, for example, you do rip pages out of the Bible in your concert. You do wipe your ass with the American flag. Some of these things, you have to admit, are controversial.
Absolutely.
I mean,
they're designed to make people think, but the point with a Bible or a flag is to say it's only as valid as you make it in your heart. A piece of paper. It's all about
perception, isn't it, Marilyn?
A piece of paper or a piece of cloth doesn't mean anything. It's what you believe. And I want people to think about what they believe. I want them to consider if everything they've been taught, if that's what they want to believe or that's what they've been told that they have to believe.
You know, but I agree with that. In a sense, I do.
This one is actually one of my favorites. If you have a chance to watch the whole interview, it is beautiful, it is marvelous. Having a deeply rooted Christian woman arguing against him, it's just such a delightful, incredible. The main belief we can see right here could be defined as damaging the Bible and American flag is controversial and can cause problems, and it's kind of obvious anyway. The reasons for why it is controversial don't really need to be expressed. It is pretty rooted in common belief that playing with such important symbols, whether it is for patriotic acts or for the Bible, the religion, it's pretty obvious why it is controversial. However, However, he's reframing that by applying what I would categorize here as the redefined pattern, by saying it is not X, it is Y. It is not this, it is that. So the Bible and the American flag are nothing more than a piece of paper in the end. This is the most basic form of reframing. You're just calling one thing another thing that fits your meta frame. So when your meta frame is I am here to challenge people's assumptions about religion and about what they've been taught to believe about God and religion, then those kind of reframe just comes to your mind pretty easily. Stuff like the Bible is just a stack of paper, nothing else. And the other part of this redefine is it's only about what you believe it means. So those things by themselves don't mean anything. It is the meaning you attribute to those things that cause eventually the controversy, because it is conflicting what you believe. But what you believe may not be what you should believe. We come back to his meta frame once again.
You can take some of your lyrics as, you'll understand when I'm dead. I mean, disturbed kids could take the lyrics and say, when I'm dead, everybody's going to know me.
Well, I think that's a very valid point, and I think that that's a reflection of not necessarily this program, but of television in general. If you die and enough people are watching, then you become a martyr, you become a hero, you become well known. So when you have things like Columbine and you have these kids that are angry and they have something to say and no one's listening, the media sends a message that if you do something loud enough and it gets our attention, then you will be famous for it. Those kids ended up on the cover of Time magazine. The media gave them exactly what they wanted. And that's why I never did any interviews when that happened, when I was getting blamed for it, because I felt that I would be contributing to what I found to be reprehensible.
So you don't believe that your songs reflect any kind of suicide wish or anything like that?
No, I feel that my songs talk about getting through feelings like that.
The assumption, the belief right here, which is more a question, is talking about death can or will encourage suicidal path, unfortunately. Actually, I think there has been some cases about that. I do not know how far they went into the studies of psychological and analysis, so I don't know if there is any veracity into this. Just the simple way he is expressing it, he is reframing, is by saying something that I would categorize as another outcome. I would say, by saying my songs are talking about getting through feelings like that instead of diving into them. Obviously, this is, I wouldn't position myself as any veracity and truth on that. I do not know if he's helping or not. I just don't know about that. I'm just here to study the communication aspect of it. It is very clever because redirecting the negative thoughts about his message into something positive. It could also be called a consequence pattern. Again, many of those patterns, they just fit into more of those categories than just one. This is just easier to learn if you fit them into one category, but most likely they fit into many of them.
What's your message? What are you trying to get across in the lyrics to these songs?
It's always about being yourself and not being ashamed of being different or thinking different. I try and take everyone's ideals, common morals, flip them around, make people look at them differently, question them, so that you're not always taking things for granted.
So as a conclusion, I won't break down this one because at this point you have pretty much figured it out. It is all coming down to know yourself. Knowing thyself is really what allows you to hold the frame, to control the frame with people you want to influence, whether it is in your personal life, into your professional life, at the office, this girl you want to date. Most likely, by the way, people who study frame control are either young guys wanting to pick up girls, or they are people involved into political arguments. And I would say even 80% is more the young guys studying for pickup girls. Those ones, and I know some people like that will watch this video, my advice to you guys is, if whenever a girl is asking you something like, are you trying to get sex out of me, or are you trying to have sex with me, if you're like, or if you try to turn around and, oh no, I'm just trying to be your friend, you have already lost. Because you're not being honest with what you want. It's all about honesty, saying clearly what you want and say clearly why you think that way, why you think this way. Then if people get mad, they get mad. Okay, it's not your job to make everybody happy. Even the president is not trying to make everybody happy because they know it's just impossible. No matter that they are left-wing or right-wing, they will just make some people pissed off anyway, whether it is the rich or the poor. Some part of the population is going to be pissed off anyway. Same thing if you're a guy trying to pick up girls. Yes, some of them will get mad because of your honesty when you say clearly, no, I don't want a relationship, or if you say, yes, I want to get you home tonight. Of course, some of them are going to be pissed off, but you're being honest. So in the end, is it not better to be honest and eventually face some rejection rather than always trying to play the nice and turning around, oh yeah, but you know, it's not really about that. Oh, I just wanted to... Just say what you want clearly. And then if she doesn't like it, okay, fine, she leaves. Just say what you want. The more honest you are with yourself about what you want, who you are, and why you want what you want, and the more people are going to join you on the things you want to persuade them about. Because it comes from honesty, it comes from authenticity, being completely authentic with who you are, with your message, with your mission in life, if you're already at the stage of having figured that out eventually, just having some congruency, some authenticity about the things you want to persuade people about.